Hey, welcome back. Free Tarot Online. Today we're talking about court cards. Court cards. So I need to bring this up in YouTube, this broadcast. I don't remember how I did it last time. Let me figure it out. Let's see. I think if I do this, I can see it. Because last time, this is how I saw the chat.
Let me figure it out.
Yep. Okay. Mute myself.
Let's see. I think if I do this, I can.
Okay. So I'm muted. So hopefully I can see the chat. I can talk to you. It's April 28th, 2019. Beautiful spring day here in San Antonio, Texas. We're going to talk about court cards today. So if you have any questions, put it in the chat. Questions about court cards, questions, or if you have any other general tarot questions, I'm happy to answer them about anything that's giving you a problem, or you're confused about, or you're stymied with it with tarot. Go ahead, put it in the chat. I'm also be thinking of. I like to take live questions to demonstrate what we're talking about. And since we're talking about court cards today, they're going to be about how you yourself are showing up as a court card in a certain situation, or how someone you know is showing up in a certain situation. So usually I don't have that kind of constriction on the questions, but because we're sticking to the court cards, I kind of have to keep it that way. So, and I'll say it again later, just so that people who are joining later can, I'm seeing myself on the other screen. I'll flip away from that. Okay, so I don't have to see myself. So people who are joining later can go ahead and put their question in. So yes, we want to talk about court cards. Okay, and I have a presentation, but I don't want to start it just yet because I need to let people go ahead and show up. So in the meantime, I think I might share some pictures with you about pictures of what has been happening here in San Antonio. So I'm opening up. We have here in Texas, we are known for the blue bonnets. Let me see if I can move this over here. We are known for, oh, that's weird. I just moved myself. How did I do that? I don't want to move myself. I want to move this picture. Oh, why do I want to do it? There it goes. All right. Yes. Here in Texas, we are known for our blue bonnets in the springtime. So let me see if I can share my screen. Let me share my screen. All right. These are Texas blue bonnets. Ooh, so pretty. These purple flowers along the roadside. Pretty awesome, huh? We've had a really good year for blue bonnets because we've had lots and lots of rain. And it's been not so hot. It could be hot. April is one of those months where it could be really hot. It could be 98 degrees right now, or it could not be. And I think it's probably mid-80s at best right now. So that's the blue bonnet picture. Let me see. I also wanted to share a picture of my cactus. I'm going to move that over there. So hopefully you are seeing my cactus right now. This cactus that I'm showing you, usually it'll have like a bloom or maybe two, and it'll bloom real quick. Like each bloom will last like a day, and it'll be like one bloom, another bloom, another bloom, and it does it real quick. But I mean, it went nuts this year. It just, like, as you can see, it was just covered. It was covered in blooms, and it's like it's still blooming. It's like unbelievable. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So let me stop sharing. Go back to me. See if anybody's here. I'm going to check back here. Is anybody here? It says one watching. So somebody's here. Somebody is here. Oh, there I am. Yes. So, okay. So if welcome, whoever you are. Last time we had a problem where I was cutting in and out, and I listened to the broadcast, and what it was is that there were people on here that were not muted. And so if you're on a desktop or a laptop, if you can mute your microphone, that should take care of the problem. There's this weird manager thing here where I said mute everybody, but I don't know. It obviously didn't do it. So that's been part of the problem with this live stream is like, I'm like, oh, I do online video conferencing all the time for my job. I understand this. Well, no, live streaming doesn't work exactly the same way. So anyway, but if you could mute your microphone, if you're on a laptop or desktop, that would be helpful. If you're on your phone, I don't know what to tell you to do. I don't know. Hopefully we will not have that same problem again. And then just to be sure, is everybody, the one person that is here, are you hearing me? If you could put it in the chat, are you hearing me, whoever you are? And I'm going to type it myself. And you hear me? Oh, somebody just made a weird noise outside my window. Okay, so far no one is responding. No one is responding. Okay, anyway, let's, I guess I'll just get started with the presentation. And I'm going to close this chat on my window here because it's no good. I am going to start the presentation. So let me start the presentation. Okay, so let me move this over here. I'm going to move this over here. All right, so welcome. Free online tarot class. Here we are. And I don't know why is this not showing my whole screen? That's kind of weird. Let me try it on the other screen because I have two screens. Let me stop sharing and I'm going to share it on the other screen. I'm going to share screen one. Of course, it does the weird tunnel thing if I do that. All right, I don't know if that looks any better. Hopefully it does. It'll catch up over here on my right in a minute. There it goes. Okay, I'm watching. No, it still looks the same. Looks weird. Oh, no, now it's better. Okay, all right. So free tarot class. There is a mailing list associated with this. If you want to get the handouts and the homework, then you can sign up on the mailing list, and I'll make sure I will give you the links before the end of the class. And there's also a Facebook page. So if you sign up on the email list, you will get the links to the Facebook page. And I am a self-taught tarot reader. I live in San Antonio, Texas. I've been reading since my 20s. I do a lot of parties. I do one-on-one readings, but I also do a lot of parties. I've worked for SeaWorld and Dell and all these other companies who you would not think would hire tarot readers, but I have done events for them. I'm also an astrologer and a divination geek in general. The objectives of this class is to make an intuitive connection with the cards. So this is the thing, you could spend years studying tarot and still never be able to do a reading. But what my objective for the class is to get you guys up and running, make an intuitive connection with the cards, being able to understand the structure of the cards so that you can just start doing readings, within a few weeks or a couple months, because there's no reason to drag this out. And then if you want to study all these other esoteric arms of astrology, you're completely welcome to do so. But the objective of this class is to get you reading as soon as possible. And so part of that is to become familiar with basic spreads and how to create spreads, and then being able to really read holistically. That's what a lot of people have trouble with. They're like, okay, I know this is the Eight of Pentacles and this is the King of Swords, but I don't know how to put them together. And that's part of reading holistically. And that's what we're doing in this class. So welcome. I am super happy to have you here. And that's what we're doing. Okay, so today we are talking about the court cards. Who are they? like you see these, they're people that show up in the reading, they're the court cards. Like, who are they? What do they do? How do you identify yourself in the court cards? It can be it's a little confusing. The court cards are a little confusing because it's similar to when you're out somewhere and someone comes up to you and they start talking to you, and clearly they know who you are and you don't know who they are. And so there's that awkward moment where you're like, okay, you're thinking to yourself, who are you? Because clearly you know me, but I don't know you. So that's what we're going to try to get beyond here with this court card class. So basically, the court cards are people in your environment. They're also the roles that people play. So when I say roles that people play, like, okay, let's just pretend I work for this person named Mindy. Okay, so technically Mindy is my boss, but Mindy is also a friend of mine. So two of the roles that Mindy plays are, one, my boss, and one, my friend. And she also has children, so she's also a mother. That's another role that people play. So that's kind of what the court cards are. They're the characters of the narrative of whatever the spread you're looking at is. So they are important in that they're the characters of the narrative. They can be parts of yourself. So they might be external. Like I said, they might be people. They might be your mom, your dad, your kids, your boss, your neighbor, the guy who drives the bus that you ride every day. They could be that, or they could be parts of yourself. They could be the part of yourself that's like very analytical and wants facts and figures, and another part of yourself that just wants to have fun, for example. So that's what makes it confusing, because you're kind of like, okay, like who am I talking to right now? it's like multiple personality disorder. Okay, who am I talking to right now? And they could even really be situations, just like any of the tarot cards could be situations, the court cards could be situations too. But I think for the purposes of this class, we kind of want to focus on, okay, that the court cards are they're characters of the narrative of the spread that we're looking at. So it's like their main characters. So it's kind of we focus on them because we're like, oh, okay, this is an important person in this narrative. Okay, so moving on, as I take a drink. I got this from tarotavenue.com. I'm giving full disclosure where this came from, tarotavenue.com. You can go there yourself and check it out. The guy has good stuff on his site. Basically, this is his royal advice spread, which you're free to do. But basically, he boils it down pretty well to what the court cards are. So we have pages. So the pages they're young. They're kind of depicted as children or young people. And they're about what you should learn. Okay. It's like learning and exploring. Like you think of little kids, they're running around, they're like learning and they're exploring. They're like, oh, what is this? What is that? What is that? Let me pick that up. Let me try this. Let me see if I can stand on my head and do that. Let me see if I can, let me see if I can grab a frog. Let me see what happens if I grab the cat by its tail. Okay. So that's like kind of a page thing where you're exploring and learning. The knights are very focused on doing things, right? Because we know from all the fairy tales or whatever that we've been exposed to, like the knights have a mission. They have a quest. They're charged with doing something. So knights are focused on something, on getting something done, on gaining something, on a goal, so they're on a quest. They're doing something. The queens are nurturing. Okay, so that's what we think of as typically female. It's like we want to nurture and concentrate something. So like if we're talking about the suits, like we're talking about cups, we have the Queen of Cups, and so she's focusing on nurturing and concentrating that suit. of cups. So which is emotions and inclusivity and connection, and flowing and all that. So that's where we can see like, okay, the queen of cups is like, she's kind of the quintessential mom, right? So she's bringing everybody together. She's uniting everyone. She's creating harmony. She's creating flow. She's creating connection, right? So that's the queen. They concentrate and they also protect these things. And then we have the kings, and the kings are mastery. Okay, so it's mastering certain things. And, you know, and I'm going to be bringing up the suits, and we've talked about the suits before. So it's like having a good understanding of the suits is very helpful here, because it's like, okay, so we can go, you know, the King of Pentacles is about mastering the material world. It's about mastering skills. It's about mastering things that we can see, touch, feel, taste, you know, and grab and pick up, right? So that's what the King of Pentacles is about. So this, like I said, this little spread that this person on Tarot Avenue created kind of like sums it up, just in like bullet points, what each of the court cards is about. So let me switch back, and then I'm going to pop in and see if anybody's here, if anybody has questions. Okay, so I am back. Let me go back over here to where I can see the okay, I can see the chat. So if you have a question, let me know so far, basically. Okay. It doesn't seem like there's too many people here, but that's fine, because everybody can watch this later. Okay. So all right. So let me go back to my presentation. Share. Okay. All right. So moving on. Okay. So excuse me. This is where I say my slide here says, are your court cards busy? And the reason I put this is because at the very beginning of this class, I said, try to get a deck where the people are doing something. And the court cards are notorious for not doing anything. Like, they're probably the most static section of the deck is the court cards. You know, with the major arcana, the minor arcana, and the court cards are the most static. So if you can find, if you're new to tarot, you can find a deck where your court cards are doing something, that is going to help you, because it's going to help you be able to key in and be like, well, who is this? What is this about? What, you know what I mean? Like I said, we're talking about what role are they playing? What's actually going on with this court card? So in the slide, and I'm drinking again. In the slide, you can see that we have the King of Swords here, and then we've got the this is from the Rider-Waite on the left, and then we've got the King of Swords, and I can't read this person's name. It says by Frank somebody, but anyway, you can see this the king on the right, the King of Swords, he's doing something. He's like standing on a rock next to splashing water. He's catching lightning. He's got a sword raised up. He's like doing a lot more than the Rider-Waite king. So let me stop sharing, and I've got some examples for my own deck that I want to show you from my own decks. Okay, so like, for example, like here we have, this is the new Palladini, which is based on the Rider-Waite Smith. So we've got the King of Cups, and, you know, like, once again, not a whole lot going on in this card. We've got the Knight of Rods. Okay, we see he's on a horse, but there's not too much else happening. We've got the Knight of Pentacles. He's also on a horse. You know, we've got the Queen of Cups. She's looking at a cup. There's like not a lot happening. And we can compare a deck like this to, I have got, this is the Gaian, which I use a lot. So we've got, this is the Elder of Fire. So, I mean, clearly she's in a setting, you know, she's not in a castle room somewhere, you know, so it's like we know what I mean? We can go, okay, and see here we've got the guardian of air. Okay. It's like, she's kind of doing something. She's doing something with the singing bowl, or she's making a potion. We don't know. We've got the elder of water. He's rowing a boat. So that's why I say if you can find a deck that's got the people, it's got good, distinct people, like, you know, people that you could relate to and go, oh, that looks like my Uncle Jim, you know, or whatever. And they're actually, and like I said, with the court cards, they're gonna be the most static. But if they're kind of doing something or in a setting, that's gonna help you. So that's the point I wanted to make there. So let me get back to the screen sharing and put my presentation back up. Okay. So now we're going to talk about the piece where the court cards relate to the zodiac, because you may hear that. You may have somebody, they may draw a wands card, and they might, you know, with a court card, like let's just say it's the Queen of Wands, and they might go, oh, this person is, you know, they might be an Aries or a Leo or a Sagittarius. Okay, so like, why are they saying that? And what does that have to do with anything? So I have this table here. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it, but I will. When I post this, I'll post all the slides like I did last time. I'll put it on the page on my website where you'll have the replay of the video, and then you'll have, a table. You'll have all the slides and stuff plus the homework. So you'll be able to see it better if you can't see it right now. So here's the chart with how the court cards relate to the zodiac. Okay, so basically we have wands or fire. We've already talked about this. We've talked about the 4 elements. Wands are fire, cups are water, swords are air, and pentacles are earth. Okay, so we've already talked about that. And then we have king, queen, knight, and page. So for those of you who know about astrology, we have cardinal, fixed, and mutable. Okay, modalities. Now, if you don't know about astrology, like, don't fret over this. Like, if this is not your thing, then don't worry about it. Like, don't stress about it. If it's not your thing, but if you do know astrology, I'm just gonna point this out to you. And this is the thing, is that the court cards lend themselves very well to this like categorization kind of thing, because after this I'll show you a Myers-Briggs. And once again, if you're like the person that likes to categorize, you're going to get all excited about this. If you're not that kind of person, then just let it go and hang on, and we're going to get to something else that's going to relate to you a little bit better. So once again, in astrology, we have cardinal, which would be the kings, fixed, which is the queens, and mutable, which relates to the pages. Or if you prefer, the kings relate to the sun, the queens relate to the moon, and the pages relate to Mercury. And so then you're like, oh, well, what about these knights? Well, the knights are nothing. And here's an interesting theory, which I kind of get down with it. Ernst Wilhelm, who is a Vedic astrologer, and he also does cards. He reads cards and he reads playing cards and all that kind of stuff. He says that because if you think about it, there's 52 playing cards and there's 78 tarot cards, and part of the reason for that discrepancy is, of course, the major arcana. The major arcana doesn't exist in playing cards, and there are no knight suits in the playing cards. In the playing cards, you just have king, queen, page. There's no knight. And he says that the knight was like some kind of mistranslation. You know, I don't know. It makes sense when he says it. Like, I don't remember exactly what he was saying about it, but something got confused or misunderstood. So like an extra suit got snuck in there because it was like a misunderstanding of a suit that's already there. So that's why the nights are blank. So like Ernst says, when he reads tarot, he just takes the nights out and he reads king, queen, page. So that's just there. That's just there for you to like do with as you will. You know, I don't know if you want to do that. If you don't want to do that, whatever, that's up to you. But that's something to think about. So going back to our chart here, we have the King of Wands. So that's cardinal fire. So the cardinal fire sign is Aries. And then the cardinal water sign is Cancer. So the King of Cups is Cancer. And the cardinal air sign is Libra. So the King of Swords is Libra. And the King of Pentacles is Capricorn. So that's the cardinal earth sign. So you can definitely use this as a guideline, like I do. And like you will hear somebody, like I said, you'll hear somebody say, oh, that maybe that person is an Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius. Well, really what it is they are displaying the characteristics very strongly of an Aries. It's like they may not be an Aries sun sign, because in astrology you have all kinds of different planets and you may have a strong signature. Even though Aries is not your sun sign, you may have a strong signature in another sign. Like, for example, I'm a Leo sun, but I have 5 planets in Virgo, so I have a really strong Virgo signature. So somebody right off the bat might not recognize me as a Leo, but I do have a Leo sun, but I have that strong Virgo signature. So that would put me with the Page of Pentacles. But, you know, I just wanted to bring that up because you will hear that. People go, oh, they might be a Libra, Aquarius, or Gemini. Well, they may be or they might not be, but they're exhibiting the qualities of that sign. So like I said, if you know astrology, you can use that to help peg these court cards. And so I've broken it down into each of the suits, and we'll talk about each of the court cards in the suit. So for the wands are the fire element, and so it's spirited, enthusiastic, charismatic, hot-headed, fast-moving. That's what fire is. And it also has a spiritual seeking component. Wands has that spiritual seeking component as well. And I'll even add that right now. Spiritual seeking. Okay. So with the kings are about, like I said, they're about mastery. It's like they're the CEO of that element. They're wise and generous and gracious on the good side. On the negative or the downside, they can be tyrannical. So that's kind of what the kings are about. So if you think about it, and this is what I want you guys to do, and this is what you'll have on the homework, and you'll have a handout. What you need to do for the homework is you need to be thinking about, okay, who do I know that is a master, like for this example, for a master of the fire element? Like, who really has control of fire element? Who really has control of enthusiastic, charismatic, energy? Like, who do I know that's like that? And you can put down whoever it is that you personally know. In my example, I put like Tony Robbins. Like, Tony Robbins is an example of, he's got that expansion with the fire and that enthusiasm, that charisma, and he's the master of that. He's been around forever. So then if we move on, we can go on to the queens. So like I said, the queens are more of that moon energy or that fixed energy. They're more of that protection and that nurturing of the energy. And it's like control through loving presence. Okay. So like when we think of that good feminine energy, that's what we think of. We think of control through that through loving presence. Now, on the flip side, on the bad side of the queen energy, we have like mommy dearest. the manipulating mother, you know, the mother who is like, you know what I mean? Oh yeah, she has control, but it's through manipulation and guilt and, you know, all of these underhanded tactics. So that's like the bad side of the queen. Hello, Champagne. Welcome. If you have any questions, go ahead and post. If you have any questions about anything, I'm going to type it in the chat. Any questions about anything? Tarot, please post. Okay. All right. So I have for the Queen of Wands, an example would be like Lady Gaga, or really any entertainer is kind of has that Wands energy, kind of like that moving out, enthusiastic, spirited energy. You know, any kind of performer has that. You know, and then we also have Oprah, because like she is about spiritual seeking, and she really concentrated that into the Oprah show, right? There was, because that's what that whole thing, the Oprah book club and all that, she concentrated all that spiritual seeking into that show. So that's why Oprah is an example. So then moving on to the knights, and if we're going to do an astrological correlation, like I said, it doesn't correspond with a cardinal fixed mutable, but it does. If you're going to do a planet, it would be Mars, because it's that outward expansion. It's aggressive efforts. It's like questing, seeking. It's like, I'm going to go after that and get it. So my example here I have is like, these can be like professions or like things that people do. So like a firefighter or a fireman would be like a Knight of Wands, because there's somebody that is actively working with literally fire. They're literally going into burning buildings, and they're working with fire. Okay. So that, you know, it could be something like that, or it could be a person. It could, you know, like I said, it could be a person that has a fiery personality, and they're always out there, and they're always like going after something, exploring something. They're like, it could be somebody that travels a lot, like somebody that like goes here and there, and then like every time you talk to them, they're like going here, there, everywhere, and they're like, oh my gosh, they're always up to something. That would be a Knight of Wands kind of person. And then finally we have the Page, and so the Page is always like a younger person. They're more androgynous. They're not really male or female. There's somebody who's like a scout or a seeker or an apprentice or a messenger. So it's like, you think about the pages in the old times, you know, they took the messages. They took it from this court to that court. They just showed up as like, don't shoot me, I'm just the messenger, right? But they go out, you know what I mean? And they're always like checking stuff out. That's what the pages are doing. So I see some questions here. Champagne says, is this more towards learning tarot cards? If so, how do I connect more to my cards with having to reference the book for definitions? Okay. So Champagne, you're in luck. You landed on the right live stream here. That's what this whole course is about. I'm trying to teach you guys how to connect with the cards intuitively, so that you already have like boom, boom, boom. You already have a connection, and then you can expand on that connection. So if you look back at some of the other live streams, I know they weren't that good because we had technical difficulties, but we did talk about different ways to connect with the cards. So that's what I'm talking about right here with the court cards, is kind of like developing your own, like, oh, I know who this is. I know who that is when you see the court cards. Probably one of the easier ways to do it is like, you actually look at the card and what's happening in the card. And it's like, you just say, hey, there's a person and they're cutting the grass. That's what's happening in this card. And that's one way that it's like you would be surprised how often those literal interpretations apply when you're reading tarot. And then the other way is to just like quickly go through and just write down what comes to mind. When you see that card, you're like, oh, I see the Eight of Wands. I think of this. And that's just your association for now, and you're going to build on it. But that's where you start, because that way you're not trying to adopt somebody else's perspective. You're using your own. And then Champagne says, yay, I do read for people, pull the right cards, but can't seem to interpret them clearly without reference. And one more question, does it help to sleep with them? And what is the impact of doing it with that? Okay. So Champagne, like I said, I would do like I said, I would go through and I would just write down any go through your whole deck and just write down real briefly any association you have. And you're going to be more connected to that. So you're going to be more apt to remember that. So that's how you can start with your interpretation. And then, like I said, just speaking what's on the card. Like, this person looks like they're surrounded by something and they can't get past it or whatever. That's going to help you. And then I've slept with tarot cards. I've done it. It's one of those things where it's one of those ethereal things. Like, I don't really know what the impact of it does, but I feel like it can connect you more with the cards if you do that. So I would say do it. And, if you have dreams or something, that'd be cool. But the chances of that actually happening, probably not that good. So don't be expecting that. But it's going to help you connect overall. Champagne says, what about reversals? I say in this course, we're not even going to deal with them. Because you've got 78 cards, we don't need to deal with reversals. You can get to that later. And for cleansing a deck, you can just rivet, you can just shuffle them a whole bunch, or you can put them in order. Like, you can start with the Ace of Wands and go Ace 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then put them in, you know what I mean? Put them in order all the way through. You can put salt on them and leave them and then wipe them off. You can stick a crystal on top of it. There's a lot it's just like whatever really feels good to you. But usually before I start an event, like I said, I do a lot of parties. Before I start an event, I'll usually I'll turn all my cards right side up. I start with them all, and then they'll eventually reverse as the night goes on. But I turn them all right side up, and then I'll shuffle them a bunch. And I used to like put them all in order and then shuffle them. I don't really do that as much, but you can do that. So that would be my advice as far as that goes. Okay, so moving on. And I don't know if this is too laborious and boring for people, but I mean, I hope you're kind of getting how to match. The King as mastery, Queen as concentration, the Knight as action, and the Page as like exploration to the suit. And so you can kind of get a broad sense of, oh, that's what that is. So like the King of Cups, like they could be a psychologist, right? Because we're dealing with emotions. And so the king is like master of emotions. So on the one hand, it could be a really nice guy, right? He's a nice guy. He's a sensitive guy. He could be a psychologist also. He could be, I have Johnny Depp as the queen. Like, I really see Johnny Depp as like he's a super cups person. And the thing about cups too is like one of the things they say about like the feminine elements, which are the cups and the earth, they tend to be more mute and more quiet, and the male ones of wands and swords tend to be more, they're more vocal. So with the cups being mute, how many roles has Johnny Depp had where he doesn't talk? he's had quite a few. Edward Scissorhands, remember that? He don't talk. And then there's that other one, was a What's Eating Gilbert Grape? There's a bunch of them where he doesn't, if he talks, it's very, very minimal. Minimal talking by Johnny Depp. So that's why I put him as like the Queen of Cups, because he really nurtures that. And he has that, it's like, it's kind of like he's oozing emotion, but he's not speaking. That's Johnny Depp to me. He may be something else to you. And that's the whole thing about this too. There's different angles on everything. So it's like, I may see the Queen of Cups one way and you may see it another way. And one deck may portray the Queen of Cups one way and they may portray her another way. So that's all something to take into. But like I said, basically, I'm just trying to get you to get a couple associations with each card so that you can move forward and you'll just start building as you go. And as I mentioned with the Queen of Cups, like I mentioned with that Queen energy, like on the good end, it's like the Madonna. It's the great mother. She's the great giver. She loves everybody. She includes everybody. She brings everybody together. And then on the flip side, she's mommy dearest. And she's like pure evil. She's like manipulating and making everybody crazy. And that goes for all of them. They're all like that. Like on the king end, like, okay, so like you're the benevolent king. You're able to make wise decisions. You're able to like do things fairly. And if you're on the other end, then you're doing things purely based for your own ego and for your own sense of entitlement and for what fulfills you. You don't give a shit about anybody else. Like, okay. For the Knight of Cups, this is your classic Prince Charming. Prince Charming, right? This is the guy who's like, he's on the quest to find the Holy Grail, or it's the prince trying to find Cinderella, who belongs to this shoe. That's the Knight of Cups. And then the Page of Cups, like in a way, it could be Cupid, because he's running around. He's all over the place. He's exploring. He's checking stuff out, and he's trying to make connection. So he's randomly hitting people with arrows, right? And he's trying to make that connection. Okay, so like you got to have fun with this stuff. You got to have fun with this stuff. I think for now, I'm going to take a break from my explanation because I don't know if this is like too much. It's like too much data for people. Like, I don't know if you're just like, oh, some people like a lot of data and they like the charts and they like the graphs. And I tend to be that way, but other people don't like it so much. So let me pause and I'll show you the tarot cards that I made. Where am I? Okay, I'm here. So this is the deck I made that is free to download on my site, which is likeapsychic.com, but these are the ones I made. So like, here's the Page of Wands. Okay, so you can see that this person, it's a young person. It's a young person, and he's riding a skateboard, and he's in this area with all this graffiti and all this stuff. So it's like, he's kicking it up. He's having a good time. He's doing his thing. He's expressing himself. That's a Page of Wands. For the King of Wands, I have Bruce Lee, because I think we would all agree that Bruce Lee has a lot of charisma, and he exudes a lot of energy. Like, you could argue, and like I said, there's different sides and different angles to everything. He could be on like the Pentacles, and for like having command of his body and his physicality, but in this case it was just his, like, the pure energy. He was like very much a master of controlling his energy, and there's all kinds of quotes by Bruce Lee that are all about, it's about mastery through control of energy, of not wasting your energy. So that's why I made Bruce Lee the King of Wands. Oprah, she's already come up. I've already talked to her as Queen of Wands, because like I said, that the wand energy is kind of like that spiritual force, a spiritual energy. And so, Oprah very much nurtured that for people and made that available for people and shared that with people. And that's a very queenly thing to do. We've got the Knight of Wands. I have Mick Jagger, and I've commented on this card before. It's weirdly, you always see Mick Jagger in action, and the picture I have, because I used all copyright-free images, the picture I have is he's just sitting there, which is, it's weird for Mick Jagger, but whatever. Like I said, a lot of performers have this wands energy and this outward moving energy, even though Mick Jagger doesn't in this particular picture. I've got the Knight of Swords here. This is Rush Limbaugh. So the Knight of Swords is somebody who really wants to attack with words. You know what I mean? They have got an axe to grind. They want to prove a point. They want to come after you and slaughter you with words. And I think Rush Limbaugh exemplifies that. You may not think that. Whatever. That's the card that I made. I've got the Page of Swords here. This is a little like news boy that's selling the paper, but he's trying to open the door. And my idea behind that was that it's like you're trying multiple things. Like the little page boy, the newspaper sales boy, is running all over trying to sell these papers. So it's like that same idea. It's like you're running all over trying to sell these ideas or explore these ideas or find out what you can find out. Queen of Swords, I have Hillary Clinton. I made this deck way before she ever ran for president. But even at that point, people knew, like, Hillary Clinton, not warm and fuzzy. Like, when you think of Hillary Clinton, you don't think, oh, she's so nice, or she's so kind, or she's so inclusive. You don't think that with Hillary Clinton. Like, it's like, okay, she's definitely skilled in her realm, which is like of ideas and pushing certain things forward. But she's not warm. So that's why Hillary Clinton is the Queen of Swords. And the Queen of Swords, a lot of times, like, this is like kind of like the classic bitch. And I'm not saying Hillary Clinton's a bitch, but it's like the real bitchy card is the Queen of Swords, unfortunately, because there is a good side to the Queen of Swords. But that's just what I'm saying. The classic bitch is the Queen of Swords. The King of Swords, I have Eric Francis here. He is an astrologer. He's also like a journalist type person. To me, when I see King of Swords come up, this is somebody who's very good at what they do. This is an analytical person, somebody that deals with information. And like I said, King Solomon, somebody who can make wise decisions. Queen of Pentacles. I'm blanking out on her name. What's her name? Diane Fossey? Is that her name? The lady that took care of the gorillas and the chimpanzees. This is the queen, the mother that's taking care of the earth. She's taking care of these apes. That's her. The King of Pentacles, don't remember this guy's name either, but he built sustainable greenhouses in like inner city Detroit, and he had people work in them, and so they grew all kinds of good food, and these greenhouses were self-sustaining in that's a fish in his hand. So they do the whole thing where it's like they have fish that create fertilizer for the plants, and they have worms that create good soil for the plants. So the whole thing is like a self-contained ecosystem. So like I said, the Pentacles is having to do with earth and with building things and building structures. And then we have this guy who's like mastered it. He's mastered it. These greenhouses are self-sustaining in Detroit, and they provide food to people. Knight of Pentacles, we have Buckminster Fuller. So he could arguably, from another perspective, he could be on the air end, because he definitely worked with ideas, but he definitely built a lot of things. He created the geodesic dome, and this was like called the Dynacar, like built in the 50s, like these super energy efficient things. And when people weren't caring so much about that kind of thing, that's why I put him as the knight, because he put a lot of energy into his inventions. We got the Page of Pentacles. I just used a kid a young person and a pentacle, and it looks like she has pentacles on her pants. So there wasn't too much more that went into that card. I've got the King of Cups. I put Einstein on there because Einstein actually has a lot of imagination. Like, he never would have been able to do the scientific feats he did without having that imagination. And then I found this is like a Banksy thing where it says love is the answer, and it's Einstein. It just turned out to be perfect for the King of Cups. And so that's part of reading tarot too, is it's like you have to be open to these kind of funny twists and turns that you might be brought down, because you might be thinking of something in one particular way, but through working with the cards, it's like you might take a twist down another way. And I think this is a really good example, because it's like, okay, Einstein's the King of Cups, and he has a sign that says love is the answer. And, so you got to kind of like, you got to meditate on that a little bit. Knight of Cups, like I said, Prince Charming. This guy is like Prince Charming. He's like seeking love in relationship, looking for his queen or whatever. And then we've got the Queen of Cups, where I just used a woman in the cup. So it's kind of, like I said, that whole quintessential mother idea. And then Page of Cups, once again, just a little kid swimming in the water. He's exploring the water. He's checking it out. He's having fun. That's what pages do. So I wanted to do that. So let me go back to the questions. Champagne. One more question. How do you combine cards with clarifiers, or need to use clarifying cards? Okay, so we're going to get to that in a minute, Champagne, because we're going to do a reading with the court cards. And it's going to be 2 cards. It's going to be 2 cards because I'm trying to keep this super simple so you guys can get this and not get overwhelmed. So that we'll pick a court card with a minor arcana as a clarifying card. Okay. So, and how am I time-wise? Yeah, I may skip some of the other slides. I'll have them posted. So if you, like I said, if you're one of these real categorical people and you like to kind of explore how to put things together, you can check it out on my website, and I'll have all that up for you. You can study that. And if you're not that kind of person, then you don't have to, and you can still get a lot out of this. So let me go back to the screen share. Okay. All right. So I'm hopefully you kind of got the idea. I've got one here for swords. I've got one here for pentacles, but we're going to skip it for now because people are having questions. And then the only other thing is I wanted to real quick show you also, if you're one of these category people, and I'll put this on my website, this guy who I had that little slide about what each court card means. If Myers-Briggs, if you're into the Myers-Briggs, like the INFJ thing, he's got a real nice little, I don't know, whatever you call it, infographic of these different Myers-Briggs personalities as the court cards. So like I said, if you're one of those people that like that, you know who you are. If you don't like it, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't go there. Okay. So let's go on to, this is how I wanted to work with reading for the court cards. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to like pull court cards, and you're going to go, okay, main character, the court card is either going to be the main character, it's going to be who am I, or it's going to be who is he or she, or what role am I playing when. And I'm going to explain this better in a second, because you're probably going, what the hell are you talking about? And then the minor court card is going to be the context, the behavior, the environment, or the frame of the whole thing. And I suggest you do this like with a bunch of different scenarios and a bunch of different people to kind of explore the court cards more. So let me go back to myself. Stop sharing. Okay. Am I back? I'm back. Okay. So, for example, what you can do is what I did is I separated my deck into, these are just the court cards and these are just the minor arcana. That's it. And so, like, I asked the question, who am I at work? So, and I have to put a different thing up over here so I don't see myself delayed. So who am I at work? So, like, I'm a transaction coordinator. That's like that's my day job. That's how I earn my money. And so I work for 2 different real estate agents. So I'm like, okay, who am I at work? And so this is what I pulled. I pulled the elder of air. So in the Gaian, the elders are the kings. And I apologize. I don't like to throw in a lot of variables because it just confuses people. But this is such a good deck to illustrate this kind of stuff with. I'm just doing it. I'm just doing it. But just so no, this is the king. This is the king of swords, basically. This is the king of swords. So, like I said, when I see king of swords, as somebody who's very good at what they do. The elder of air is somebody who has mastery over the air suits. So, in real estate, basically, I'm doing all the paperwork. That's what I'm doing. So that would be an air, because anything that has to do with writing is the air suit. So whether you're writing a book, you're doing paperwork, you're writing poetry, you're sending messages, whatever, communication, you're making phone calls, whatever, that's all air stuff. So that's what I'm saying. I'm master of the paperwork and the communication and all that stuff. And like I said, in this particular case, I would say look at the picture and what's happening. In this particular case, I don't know how much that has any relevance. There's a guy playing a flute and there's a butterfly. Other than this, like the music sounds good and it makes everything go together, whatever. But anyway, that's me. And then I pull a minor arcana card, which I have in their whole in a stack here. And so in what way do I do this? What's the context of how I do this? What's the environment of how I do this? So interestingly, we have the 4 of water here. So I mentioned earlier about how the cups in the water suit are quiet. So I do it quietly. I work from home. Okay. So I don't actually meet or see these people very much at all. I do it behind the scenes. And for me personally, one of the things I associate with the 4 of Cups is like kind of an emotional withdrawal. So it's like I'm emotionally withdrawn, and that makes sense with the air suit here, because the air suit is very analytical. It's very black and white. It's like this has to be done. This is right. This is wrong. This is yes. This is no. This is, you know what I mean? Everything's in its category. So there's really no emotional involvement. I do deal with clients, but not in the way that the agents I work for deal with clients. They're more the emotional interface. I'm the more unemotional paperwork interface of it. So that makes sense. So let me try another one. Let me see. Gosh, what do I want to know? Okay, so let me see. My son, who is 17, has a job. He works at this Ford Quick Lane thing. So who is my son at work? Let me ask that question. Who is my son at work? And I'm shuffling right here. Who is my son at work? So that's where I say it's like different roles, because I could also ask, like, who am I at home? Who am I to my parents? Who am I to my son? Who am I to my YouTube audience? Why don't I do that? Who am I to my YouTube audience? Who am I to my YouTube audience? Okay. So let me pull a card there. Who am I to my YouTube audience? So who am I to my YouTube audience? I have the elder water. So I have the King of Cups. So I would say this is about being a master of connection. So that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to help you guys connect to the cards. So to you, I am a master of connection. And in what context, or how does that play out? What does the environment look like? I'm going to shuffle. I'm shuffling, 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 shuffle. Okay. Oh, the Eight of Fire. So the Eight of Fire has to do with and what I've said for people, like, we haven't even really gotten to looking at the numbers, but what we can do is we can look at the suit, and so we can say fire. So fire is inspiration and charisma and spiritual seeking. And from this picture, it's like, ooh, we got all these comments, and it's like exciting. So it's like, I am the master of connection in a quick way, because the fire suit is very quick, and like a quick and charismatic, and kind of, this almost looks kind of dramatic to me, because they've got all these meteors. It's like, whoa, what's going on here? You know, in that way. So it's like, yeah, I'm creating connection in a quick way, in a dramatic way, and then in an exciting way, and in a spiritual way. So you may or may not agree with that, but that's how I'm reading that one. I am happy to take people's questions. If you have any of these if you have a court card question, so the court card question would be phrased like, who am I in this situation? Who is so and so in that situation? How does my boss see me? How do my kids see me? How am I acting in this situation? Anything like that. It's just it's like kind of a real short phrase. We can't get into too much with just the court cards, but something along those lines would work. So I will pause here while I'm waiting for somebody. If you have a question like that, and then I can think of another one while I'm sitting here. What would be another one? Oh, I was talking about who is my son at work. So let's do who is my son at work. Okay, who is my son at work? Who is my son at work? All right, so I get the Explorer of Air. So there we have him actually doing something, because remember, the Knights are about doing something, and he's doing ideas. He's doing ideas at work. And so what is the environment or the context of him doing ideas at work? We will find out. Let me shuffle and pick a card. Six of Air. So obviously, like from the picture, he's doing it with other people. He's doing ideas with other people. It's another air card. So it's like, and the six, I mean, the air is about knowledge. So, and then I've been trying not to bring the numbers in until we get the numbers in. So I'm not going to talk about six, but I'm just going to talk about the air card and what is on this card. So what is on this card is a bunch of people that are obviously all moving toward one single purpose here. They're all, you know what I mean? They're all obviously hearing the same music coming from that guy in the background there. And they're all kind of moving towards the same purpose. So he's doing ideas toward the same purpose at work. Okay. So no one has asked a question. Okay. So let me go back to the presentation. See what else I had. I don't think there's too much left. Okay. So yes, so I have the homework is do the court cards worksheet. I'm going to send you a worksheet if you sign up for the class, which is in the link in the description. I will have the and I'll also put it in the chat right now. Let me copy it. If you sign up for the mailing list, then you'll get the link to where the homework and everything will be posted, which I'm going to post it right now. Okay, I posted it. And it'll be a page on my website. Well, you'll have the replay of this, and then you'll have the slides, and you'll have the homework, and I'm going to send you a grid that looks similar to this, but you'll be able to fill in the grid with like people that come to mind. You're like, oh, who is Uncle Hector? Who is this person? Who is that person? You can fill it in for yourself. So I say, do the homework worksheet, complete do the court card worksheet, contemplate the court cards. Watch how they show up in your everyday life. So just be aware, because it's like you might have this instance where you're like, oh, that is so Knight of Pentacles. That is so Knight of Pentacles. You know, they might show up for you that way. And then one thing you can do is you can also just ask the cards. You can ask the cards like straight up, like, who is how am I? Or let me see. I'm coming back to myself. I'm stopping the screen share. You can ask yourself, like, you can have to ask the cards. You'd be like, okay, who is my mom? Who is my mom in the court cards? And you can just shuffle your cards. And like I said, if you want to separate the court cards out by themselves, you can. Or if you want to just keep pulling until a court card comes up, either way works. But you can be like, okay, who is my mom? Of all the court cards, who is my mom? And I got the Elder of Air. So the same card that I got for me at work is my mom. And I could be like, okay, all right, so who is my brother? Who is my brother in the court cards? So I'm shuffling who is my brother. And I have the Guardian of Fire. So that's the Queen of Wands. You know, and then you can write it down in that spreadsheet and be like, oh, okay, let me think about that. You know, how does that apply? How does that not apply in my own mind? And just kind of sit on it. And because like I said, everybody is not just one static thing. You know, like this is not my brother in entirety. There's like how I see my brother, how my parents see my brother. That's two very, very different things. How people he works for see him, how his wife sees him, that they're all, you know, it's all different. But it's just like, this is a little slice of who is my brother, you know, and I can concentrate on that and work on that. And then when I like, okay, if I'm associating this card kind of with my brother, when it comes up again, I can be like, oh, okay, this is somebody who's like my brother in some way. And what is that? How is that person is like my brother? So that is your charge for this homework until the next 2 weeks. So I don't know what date that is. I'm coming back. It's 2 Sundays from now. Not next Sunday, but the following Sunday is when I'll be back. Nobody else has posted anything. I don't see any other questions. So I think I will say goodbye for now. So have a wonderful week. Sign up for the email list. So you can, like I said, so you can get the homework, the handouts. You can ask me questions. You can get in on the Facebook group, the whole deal. And I will see you next time. Bye.